improves health the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNRI.
Based on 2008, WHO estimates 60% of all deaths in our country, which is 800 daily, is caused by non-communicable diseases. There are 4 major categories of NCDs: cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, chronic respiratory diseases, and some cancers. Filipinos continue to be exposed to the risk factors of NCDs. Physical inactivity and unhealthy diets are major contributors to the rising cases of NCDs. To combat NCDs, FNRI, DOST, DOH, NNC, and WHO agreed to come up with a new food guide for Filipinos. In 2014, the Pinggang Pinoy Healthy Plate for adults was first introduced to the public. It is a food plate showing the recommended proportion of food groups in every meal. It conveys the message that half of the plate is occupied by fruits and vegetables, while the rice and protein groups make up the other half, with more rice than protein. The guiding principles underlying the development of Pinggang Pinoy are based on the following philosophical goals: evidence-based, promoting good health, focus on total diet, realistic, useful, practical, flexible, evolutionary. Pinggang Pinoy is a translation from nutrients to food based on the best available scientific evidence, with due consideration to nutritional advocacy and usual dietary pattern. It shows the 3 basic food groups: Go, or rice and alternatives; Grow, or fish and alternatives; and Glow, that is divided into 2 portions: fruits and vegetables. Drink lots of water every day for adequate hydration. Since individuals' energy and nutrient needs vary based on age, sex, and level of physical activity, FNRI DOST also developed Pinggang Pinoy food plate for the other age or population groups. Children 3 to 5 years old, children 6 to 9 years old, children 10 to 12 years old. Male adolescents, female adolescents, male adults, female adults, male elderly, female elderly, pregnant, lactating. Proper diet along with regular physical activity can maintain good health and help prevent obesity. With healthy food choices following Pinggang Pinoy plus healthy lifestyle through regular physical activity and avoidance of cigarette and alcohol comes the healthy Filipino nation.
The FNRI Service Laboratory is an ISO IEC 17025 accredited laboratory which is composed of 3 laboratories. It is the focal agency of the Department of Science and Technology for Nutrition Labeling and is recognized by the Philippine FDA for nutrition labeling and by BFAR for marine food products analysis. It is the only laboratory in the Philippines that is capable to analyze serum vitamin A and urinary iodine excretion. Initially mandated to conduct researches on biological parameters and support the laboratory needs of various in-house food research and development projects, FNRI-SL has continuously expanded and has offered its services also to the public. The chemical laboratory is equipped with instruments that allow proximate determination and physical-chemical analysis of foods. Also, our laboratory is equipped with state-of-the-art modern instruments such as high-performance liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, atomic absorption spectrophotometer, graphite furnace equipped AAS, automatic analyzer, WYD iodine checker, and the UV-Vis spectrophotometer is currently used for developing methods and water quality assessment. In the biochemical laboratory, other modern instrumentation are being used in order to support the National Nutrition Survey, medical research institutions, LGUs, non-government and international organizations. Having continuously participated and showed satisfactory results in the quality assurance programs of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Biochem Lab offers now a wide range of tests. Meanwhile, the Microbiological Lab is a food laboratory offering a range of tests covering spoilage, indicator and pathogenic microorganisms in food and water samples. The Microlab offers the following: Also, the Microlab conducts isolation and identification of pathogenic microorganisms in food that are of significance to public health. Recently, the laboratory has also started performing molecular pathogen detection in food and bacterial cultures. Using the technology of real-time polymerase chain reaction, detection of Salmonella and Vibrio has become more rapid and accurate. As we are committed to deliver high-quality and timely services, the laboratory is maintained by well-trained, experienced, and PRC-registered chemists and chemical technicians, medical technologists, and registered microbiologists on analysis of different samples. Aside from our commitment to maintain quality data generation, FNRI-SL also holds trainings and continuous consultation to customers and stakeholders. In the future, the laboratory aims to expand its services by offering specialized tests to the public. In order to do this, we commit to continuously develop methods and train our laboratory staff for excellence and quality service.
Good morning, everybody. Maligayang buwan ng nutrisyon sa ating lahat. To our participants in Zoom and DOST-FNRI YouTube, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maayong aga, maayong buntag sa tanan. Welcome to the second day of the DOST-FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. Looking forward ba kayo until Friday? At this time, we have almost 600 participants joining us this morning. We've seen earlier the expanded National Nutrition Survey, and the following are the ENNS 2021 areas. We have the provinces and highly urbanized cities to be covered in Mindanao, Cotabato City, North Cotabato, Sarangani, General Santos City, Davao del Sur, Iligan City, Surigao del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Compostela Valley, and Tawi-Tawi. In Luzon and NCR, we have Apayao, Ifugao, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Batanes, Aurora, Bataan, Tarlac, Lucena City, Cavite, Batangas, Occidental Mindoro, Romblon, Albay, Catanduanes, Masbate, Muntinlupa City, Navotas City, Pasay City, Pasig City, and Valenzuela City. And in Visayas, we have the following: Bacolod City, Negros Occidental, Negros Oriental, Bohol, Cebu City, and Leyte. Again, welcome to the second day of the DOST-FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. We would like to acknowledge our visitors. This morning, we have Department of Agriculture, USEC Leocadio Sebastian. We have our former director, Dr. Mario Vicapansana, DOST-NCR Director Jose Patalinhug, and the President, Ms. Zenaida Velasco, PAN President, Dr. Cecilia Acuin, and FIRS Chair, we have Dr. Desiree Daniega. Good morning po, ma'am and sir. We hope that you were excited with yesterday's opening ceremonies with DOST Secretary Fortunato T. de la Peña, who delivered an inspirational message, and with Ms. Katie Hanel Taninen, FAO representative to the Philippines, who gave us the keynote address. We hope that you have learned so much with our plenary session as well on Starting Right is the Right Start, where Dr. Imelda Angeles Agdepa, the DOST-FNRI Director, presented the food and nutrient intakes of breastfeeding Filipino mothers, and Dr. Anthony P. Calibo, the DOST-FNRI Deputy Director, on the Lancet Maternal and Child Undernutrition Progress. What can we learn? Opportunities for research and development for the Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, we were also amazed as well with the reactions of our beloved NNC Executive Director, Dr. Azucena M. Dayanghirang, kalusugan ng Mag-ina Incorporated President Dr. Maria Asuncion A. Silvestre, and Chief of Clinics Pediatric Department, Asian Hospital and Medical Center, Dr. Mercedita M. Macalintal, where they showed their passion with maternal and child health and nutrition, or in short, the first 1,000 days of a child's life. I am Maribugas, your moderator this morning, and for the session Nutrition Assessment. Before we start, allow me to share some important reminders. This technical session is simulcast live via DOST-FNRI official YouTube channel, and if you haven't registered to this seminar series, kindly scan the QR code or go to the link shown on your screen. Please make sure to time in for this technical session by accomplishing the attendance form provided in the chat box. This is needed for your PRC CPD units. After the session, you have to answer the post-test at the NFSS website. The post-test link will serve as your logout for this technical session. Failure to answer the post-test will mean that you did not log out for this technical session. For the post-test, you will be asked to input an FSS technical session code, which will be announced at the end of this session. Failure to provide the correct FSS technical session code will mean that you did not answer the post-test. Hence, you will not receive the certificate for the session. Only registered participants will be given the certificates for the 47th DOST-FNRI seminar series. These will only be available once you have completed the post-test and feedback evaluation forms. And then, please feel free to ask questions. We are encouraging you to ask questions. Just key in your questions in the Q&A box below your screens, which our speakers will address during the open forum. However, in the interest of time, we may not be able to answer all your questions. Again, good morning sa atin pong lahat. And this morning, we have a set of interesting research studies on nutrition assessment. As a backgrounder on this technical session on nutrition assessment, from behavioral to biological, from perceptions to the gut. This technical session on nutrition assessment will explore the how, why, and when of early life feeding and how complementary diet practices impacts the composition of the gut microbiota of Filipino infants and young children. The session aims to offer two important lenses magnifying the importance of adhering to the recommended feeding practices early in life. First, how maternal intuition consciously reasons for the immediate need of a child. And second, how early life biology responds to the introduction of complementary foods as viewed from the metagenomics perspective. So we have three researchers from the Institute who will share with us the results of their respective studies for this session on nutrition assessment. We have Ms. Giovanni Jet S. Gulay, a BS Nutrition graduate from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And she also earned units for the Master of Science in Applied Nutrition from the same university. Ms. Jet is a Science Research Specialist 1, assigned in the Nutrition, Intervention, Evaluation, and Policy section of the Nutritional Assessment and Monitoring Division. We also have Ms. Maylene P. Cajucom. Ms. Cajucom is a BS Nutrition and Dietetics graduate from the Centro Escolar University and is now a Science Research Specialist 2 from the Nutrition Assessment section of the Nutritional Assessment and Monitoring Division. And we also have Mr. Angelo K. Sastre, a BS Biology graduate from the Negros Oriental State University. He is a project assistant 2 assigned in the Nutrient Biochemistry section of the Nutrition and Food Research and Development Division of the Institute. So let us all welcome our three speakers, Ms. Gulay, Ms. Cajucom, and Mr. Sastre. Without further ado, here is our first speaker for technical session 1 on nutrition assessment, Ms. Giovanni Jet Gulay, to discuss on maternal health, seeking behaviors, and child feeding practices of Filipino teenage mothers. Ms. Jet?
Good day. Today, I will be presenting the results of the study entitled Maternal Health Seeking Behaviors and Child Feeding Practices of Filipino Teenage Mothers. The study was done with my co-authors, Ms. Eva A. Guyena and Ms. Rowena B. Bihar. To start, the authors declare that they have no known competing financial interests or personal relationships that could have appeared to influence the work in this presentation. In 2013, 1 in 10 young Filipino women aged 15 to 19 years old has begun childbearing. 8% of them are already mothers, and another 2% are pregnant with their first child. This percentage increased from 7 to 10% from 1993 to 2013. Young mothers below 20 years old are undergoing puberty, and in this stage, the demand for nutrition rapidly increases. A pregnant mother competes with her fetus for their required energy and nutrients. And with this, young pregnant women are more prone to be nutritionally at risk and having low birth weight babies. There are several factors which contribute in the utilization of maternal health services and child feeding practices of teenage mothers. However, data on Filipino teenage mothers is lacking. Thus, the study was done to provide a picture of the maternal health situation of young mothers that can aid in crafting policies and/or improving current strategies for the improvement of the maternal and child health and nutrition. Further, the study is anchored in the National Unified Health Research Agenda, or NURA 2017 to 2022, specifically to enhance and extend healthy lifestyles through nutritional assessment. In addition, it supports the Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. In general, the study aimed to determine the factors affecting the health-seeking behaviors and infant and young child feeding practices of mothers below 20 years old with children 0 to 23 months old. Specifically, it determined the teenage mother's socioeconomic status, nutritional status, health-seeking behavior, and their child feeding practices. Further, it determined the factors affecting the health-seeking behaviors and child feeding practices of the teenage mothers. For the methodology, it utilized the 2015 Updating National Nutrition Survey through the use of the public use files. All mothers below 20 years old with children 0 to 23 months old were included in the study. Their maternal profile, maternal health-seeking behaviors, and child feeding practices were the variables included. For the sample population of this study, as seen in this chart, 5% of all mothers with children 0 to 23 months old were teenage mothers. And the N for this study is 116. The data was processed and analyzed using Stata version 16. It used descriptive statistics to describe the profile of the mothers, their health-seeking behavior, and child feeding practices. The multivariate logistic regression, on the other hand, was used to examine the association of factors affecting health-seeking behaviors and child feeding practices of the teenage mothers. For the limitations of the study, the variables utilized were only based on the availability in the public use files. The results to be presented are only those with significant associations. So what are the characteristics of the teenage mothers? Majority were not working or they stayed at home. More than half reached high school or secondary education. They belong to households with at least 6 members, and they either belong to the middle, poor, or poorest quintile. Majority resided in their single houses that they own, which were made of galvanized iron or aluminum roof, concrete brick or stone wall, and plain cement flooring. They also had their own toilet facility, which are water sealed. Their main drinking water source was from piped to houses, followed by bottled or mineral water. And majority of them still use wood for cooking. And their garbage disposal was through collector system, and mothers still practice garbage segregation. Now let's look into the nutritional status of the teenage mothers with children 0 to 23 months old. As seen in this chart, majority had normal nutritional status. But it should be noted that 1 out of 4 are chronic energy deficient. So what is the age of the teenage mother's children? Most of them had 12 to 23 months old children. So what are the maternal health-seeking behaviors of teenage mothers? As seen in these charts, majority availed prenatal checkup as well as postnatal checkup. So what is the knowledge on proper timing of first prenatal checkup? It was observed that 65% had knowledge on the proper timing of the first prenatal visit. And their reasons were, it was based on their knowledge, it was advised by either a medical professional, can be a doctor, midwife, or nurse, a local health worker, or their relatives, friends, or neighbors. And they also reported that they've seen, read, or heard it from the television, newsprint, or magazine. Almost half of the teenage mothers had delayed or beyond the first trimester or no antenatal care at all. And the reported reasons were they were busy, no time, they were not interested, they do not know that they were pregnant, they were not informed or unaware, they have no available money, and the pregnancy was hidden to their family. So from whom and where do teenage mothers seek or receive prenatal care? As seen in this chart, majority of the teenage mothers seek from medical professionals, but most of them go to midwives. And in this chart shows that teenage mothers seek prenatal care in the rural or health centers. So what are the common prenatal services received by the teenage mothers? Blood pressure treatment, weight measurements, vitamins or micronutrient supplementation, tetanus vaccine, height measurements, urinalysis, blood test, ultrasound, and nutrition counseling. And the reasons for availment of these services were to have healthy pregnancy and avoid pregnancy complications, to confirm pregnancy, to monitor weight gain, to check their blood pressure and have blood tests, to receive micronutrient supplements, to get advice on proper diet, breastfeeding, and complementary feeding. While the reasons for non-availment of services were, the health facility is very far, they were busy, has no time or not interested, they were not informed or not aware of the services, and they have no available money. So now let's look into the participation of teenage mothers in postnatal checkup. As seen in this chart, majority immediately or after birth, they already have their postnatal checkup. But it should be noted that 4% still do not have postnatal checkup. As seen in this chart, majority of teenage mothers take or are still currently taking supplementation. And ferrous sulfate and iron folic acid are the most common supplementation taken by the teenage mothers. The reasons for not taking these supplementations were no money to buy vitamins, does not like the taste, no available vitamins for free or no stock, and they said that it is not important. For the maternal knowledge on immunization, majority of mothers are knowledgeable on the importance of child immunization. They said that it could protect their child from infectious diseases, it can prevent life-threatening diseases, and it can help their child to be healthy or not to be sickly. Teenage mothers were also asked on the knowledge on exclusive breastfeeding and introduction of complementary feeding. They said that mothers should exclusively breastfeed their children with a mean of 9.2 months. And mothers should introduce complementary feeding at the start of 6.4 months. Now let's look at the intention on breastfeeding of teenage mothers. As seen in this chart, 37% of them said that they should breastfeed their children at least 2 years. However, it should be noted that 3% still has no intention to breastfeed their child. Now let's look at the child feeding practices of the children of the teenage mothers. Most children had early breastfeeding initiation and were breastfed with a mean duration of at least 7 months. Only 90% were exclusively breastfed up to 6 months, and as the child grows older, breastfeeding was discontinued. Results also showed that only 8% of the children had proper timing of introduction of complementary foods. The recommended dietary diversity was also asked among the teenage mothers. And as results show, 65% of the children met the minimum meal frequency or received 4 or more food groups for the children, which include the grains, roots and tubers, dairy products, legumes and nuts, flesh meat, eggs, vitamin A-rich fruits and vegetables, and other fruits and vegetables. Only 22% met the minimum dietary diversity or received complementary foods at the minimum number of times per day. And it should be noted that only 16.4% of these children met the minimum acceptable diet and or who are those dietary and nutritionally adequate. So now let's look at the factors affecting maternal health-seeking behavior and child feeding practices of teenage mothers. As seen in these tables, household size is more likely to affect the maternal health-seeking behaviors and child feeding practices of teenage mothers, while age is less likely to affect these practices. In conclusion, majority of the teenage mothers had no work, belonged to larger household size, and from the middle to poorest quintile. 1 out of 4 teenage mothers were chronic energy deficient, and majority had availed both prenatal and postnatal checkups. And only a tenth of children were exclusively breastfed until 6 months and had timely introduction of complementary foods. Results showed that household size and age affect the maternal health-seeking behaviors and child feeding practices of teenage mothers with children 0 to 23 months old. And the health, nutrition, and well-being of women in the onset of pregnancy and after childbirth delivery should be prioritized. And it should be reminded that maternal health services are available and can be utilized to prevent maternal and child mortality. For the recommendation, nutrition education and counseling among mothers during checkups and immunization should be strengthened to educate them on topics from pregnancy to child rearing. This study only captured a limited number of subjects. Thus, further studies on teenage mothers' maternal health seeking practices should be done through primary data collection and or using available data from the government hospitals and or barangay health centers. Maraming salamat.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Jet. Let's give her a virtual clap. From Ms. Jet's presentation, we would like to reiterate that they recommended that household size and age affects maternal health seeking behavior and IYCF practices. However, it is also recommended to have a study which focuses on teenage mothers through primary data collection or based on available data from government hospitals or barangay health centers. Again, feel free to type in your questions and this will be answered during the open forum. At this point, we would like to acknowledge also our visitors joining us this morning. We have Dr. Corazon VC Barba, Dr. Celeste Tanchoco. We have Director Cesar Pedraza of DOST Central Office Planning and Evaluation Services. We have Dr. Nancy Bantog of DOST CAR Director. And then we have Dr. Maria Teresa Talavera, Ms. Joy Ramos Buenviaje, Board of Nutrition and Dietetics, PRC. And then we have also joining us this morning, the NNC Regional Nutrition Program Coordinators. And also, again, we have, we would like to acknowledge our participants joining us this morning. We have already 938 participants joining us. Again, welcome to the second day of the FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. Now let's proceed with our second speaker, Ms. Maylene Cajucom, to discuss factors associated with timely breastfeeding initiation among Filipino mothers. Ms. Maylene?
Good day, everyone. I will be presenting our in-depth study entitled Factors Associated with Timely Breastfeeding Initiation Among Filipino Mothers. The authors declare that they have no known competing financial interests or personal relationships that could have appeared to influence the work of this presentation. For the introduction, timely initiation of breastfeeding is defined as putting the newborn to the breast within 1 hour after birth. Current evidence indicates that skin-to-skin contact between mother and infant shortly after birth helps to initiate early breastfeeding. It increases the likelihood of exclusive breastfeeding for 1 to 4 months of life, as well as overall duration of the breastfeeding. It also reduces the risk of gastrointestinal diseases and acute respiratory infections, and it reduces neonatal mortality and morbidity. The benefits of timely initiation of breastfeeding and exclusive breastfeeding also increases the bond between mother and infant, and the mother experiences the release of oxytocin, which causes uterine contraction and reduces maternal blood loss. But despite the evident benefits, rates of early initiation and exclusive breastfeeding globally remain low, with approximately 50% of children under 2 years of age being breastfed within 1 hour after birth. So this slide shows the proportion of timely breastfeeding initiation in the Philippines from 2011 to 2018. So we can see that from 2011 to the proportion was 51.9%. It increased to 77.1% in 2013. Then it decreased to 65.1% in 2015. And in 2018, the proportion significantly increased at 69.2%. So looking at the WHO guidelines for rating the percentage of babies breastfed within 1 hour of birth, the 69.2% proportion of timely breastfeeding initiation in the Philippines in 2018 falls under the 50 to 89%, which is considered good. Breastfeeding practice is affected by a complicated combination of influencing factors such as family and maternal social demographics, biomedical factors, healthcare, psychosocial factors, the type and availability of social support, local community attitudes, and public policy. The objective of this study is to identify factors associated with timely initiation of breastfeeding among Filipino mothers, specifically to determine characteristics of mothers and young children by timely initiation of breastfeeding, and to identify which among the characteristics are attributed or associated with timely breastfeeding initiation. A secondary data was used for this study, and data on socioeconomic status, demographic profile, maternal and child characteristics, availment of counseling services, and recipient of information on health and nutrition topics were extracted from the Expanded National Nutrition Survey, or ENNS, conducted by the DOST-FNRI in 2018. For the materials and methods, a total of 4,889 mothers with young children less than 24 months were included in this study. For the data analysis, descriptive statistics were generated to describe the distribution of each variable. The chi-square test was used to test the association between categorical variables. All tests were done using 5% level of significance. Multivariate logistic regression model was fitted to find the factors associated with timely breastfeeding initiation, and data were processed and analyzed using Stata version 15. For the characteristic of young children less than 24 months, by gestational age, timely breastfeeding initiation among full-term young children was significantly higher at 69.7% than preterm young children at 49.5%. By sex, the proportion of male and female young children who were initiated to timely breastfeeding was almost the same at 67.5% and 70.4% respectively. And by birth weight, the proportion of young children born less than 2,500 grams and 2,500 grams and above who were initiated to timely breastfeeding was almost the same at 65.6% and 69.7% respectively. And across all age groups, 7 out of 10 mothers initiated timely breastfeeding, while only 3 out of 10 mothers did not initiate timely breastfeeding. Across all marital status, the proportion of mothers who initiated timely breastfeeding was 7 out of 10, except for widowed mothers at 3 out of 10. By educational background, 6 out of 10 mothers with no grade completed and at least college initiated timely breastfeeding, while 7 out of 10 mothers with elementary level and at least high school, and those others initiated timely breastfeeding. And by work status, about 7 out of 10 mothers who were working and not working initiated timely breastfeeding. So, by wealth status, 7 out of 10 mothers belonging to the poorest initiated timely breastfeeding, while 6 out of 10 mothers belonging to the poor, middle, rich, and richest initiated timely breastfeeding. Across all wealth status, the proportion was significantly higher among those who initiated than those who did not initiate. By residence, 7 out of 10 mothers in rural areas initiated timely breastfeeding, while 6 out of 10 mothers in urban areas initiated timely breastfeeding. The proportion was significantly higher among mothers who initiated timely breastfeeding in both rural and urban areas compared to those mothers who did not initiate. And by type of child delivery, 7 out of 10 mothers who delivered normal initiated timely breastfeeding, while 5 out of 10 mothers who delivered cesarean initiated timely breastfeeding. So this slide shows that almost 8 out of 10 mothers who delivered birth in rural or urban health center significantly initiated timely breastfeeding, while 7 out of 10 mothers who delivered birth in government hospital, lying in clinic, and others significantly initiated timely breastfeeding. 6 out of 10 mothers who delivered birth at home significantly initiated timely breastfeeding, and 5 out of 10 mothers who delivered birth in private hospital initiated timely breastfeeding. And among mothers who initiated timely breastfeeding, the proportion of those who received and did not receive counseling on health or nutrition during prenatal checkup was almost the same at 70.2% and 68% respectively. And for the health and nutrition counseling topics during prenatal, 8 out of 10 mothers who received information on anemia, its causes and effects, initiated timely breastfeeding, while 6 out of 10 who did not receive initiated timely breastfeeding. Likewise, 7 out of 10 mothers who received information on the effect of iron or folic supplementation initiated timely breastfeeding, while 6 out of 10 mothers who did not receive initiated timely breastfeeding. The proportion of mothers who received information on the importance of breastfeeding during counseling was 7 out of 10, while 6 out of 10 mothers who did not receive initiated timely breastfeeding. 7 out of 10 mothers who received information on the importance of giving birth in a health facility initiated timely breastfeeding, while 6 out of 10 mothers who did not receive initiated timely breastfeeding. And among mothers who initiated timely breastfeeding, the proportion of those who attended mother's class during pregnancy with child was higher at 73.2% than those who did not attend at 68.4%, but the difference was not significant. And for the topics during mother's class, 7 out of 10 mothers who received information on the importance and benefits of breastfeeding initiated timely breastfeeding, while 6 out of 10 who did not receive initiated timely breastfeeding. And likewise, 8 out of 10 mothers who received information on lactation management initiated timely breastfeeding, while about 7 out of 10 mothers who did not receive the information initiated timely breastfeeding. And among mothers who initiated timely breastfeeding, the proportion of those who received information about the importance of breastfeeding heard on the radio was significantly higher than those who did not receive at 68.5%. So for the factors found to be associated with timely breastfeeding initiation, for the child characteristic, full-term young children were 2 times more likely to be initiated to timely breastfeeding. And regardless of wealth status, mothers were less likely to initiate timely breastfeeding within 1 hour. And for the type of delivery, those who gave birth through cesarean section were less likely to initiate timely breastfeeding within 1 hour. And mothers who delivered birth in rural or urban health center, government hospital, lying in clinic, and private hospital were 2.4, 1.9, 1.8, and 1.7 times more likely to initiate timely breastfeeding early. And mothers who receive information on the importance of breastfeeding through advertisements in radio were 2.3 times more likely to initiate breastfeeding early. For the conclusion, gestational age, wealth status, type and place of delivery, and advertisements on the importance of breastfeeding were influencing factors in the timely initiation of breastfeeding among Filipino mothers. For the recommendation, additional factors such as mother's knowledge, attitude, and practices, as well as availability of health services should be included in future studies for a better and more comprehensive understanding of factors influencing timely breastfeeding initiation. RA 7600, or the Rooming In and Breastfeeding Act of 1992, should be strengthened to increase the proportion of timely breastfeeding initiation. And with that, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mylene. Ms. Mylene deserves our virtual clap. Again, from Ms. Mylene's presentation, it indicated that maternal characteristics and advertisements on the importance of breastfeeding were influencing factors in the timely initiation of breastfeeding. Again, however, additional factors as mother's knowledge, attitudes and practices or CAP, and availability of health services should be included in future studies for a better and more comprehensive understanding of factors influencing timely breastfeeding initiation. Once again, we are reminding you to input your questions at the Q&A box for the open forum. And we are also requesting to place your name and affiliation so that we can go back to your questions once we have limited time later to answer your inquiries. At this point, we would like to acknowledge also some visitors joining us this morning. We have DOST Assistant Secretary Diana L. Ignacio. We have DOST DLLO Director Lita Suerte Felipe. We have also Dr. Maria Asuncion Silvestre and Department of Agriculture High Value Crops Director, Dr. Yu Nichols Manalo. Good morning po, sir and ma'am. So we're done with our two presentations on Filipino teenage mothers, health-seeking behaviors and child feeding practices, and influencing factors in the timely initiation of breastfeeding. Ganyan po talaga ang coverage ng first 1,000 days of a child's life. Nagsimula kay nanay sa kanyang pagbubuntis hanggang sa ikadalawang taon ni baby. And now, we are moving to our third speaker for this session, Mr. Angelo Sastre. He will discuss on gut microbiota profiles of 6 to 24 months old infants and young children. Mr. Angelo?
Good day, everyone. My name is Angelo Sastre, and I'm here to present our project titled Gut Microbiota Profiles of 6 to 24 months old infants and Good day, everyone. My name is Angelo Sastre, and I'm here to present our project titled Gut Microbiota Profiles of 6 to 24 months old infants and young children. The authors declare that they have no known competing financial interests or personal relationships that could have appeared to influence the work in this presentation. The human microbiota is estimated to be approximately 10 to 100 trillion of microbial cells with around 1:1 microbial cells to human cells ratio. This relationship has developed over thousands of years, allowing for the establishment of long-standing and essential bidirectional host microbiota interactions. Host microbiota interactions and functions influence nutrient metabolism, vitamin synthesis, mucosal maturation, biochemical signaling between the gut and the brain, and immune system development. Although intestinal bacterial colonization begins when a fetus is in the lower uterus, an infant's gut microbiota is established after birth. The establishment of a stable gut microbiota generally accompanies two big transitions in infancy. The first transition occurs soon after birth, during lactation, and results in dominance of the gut microbiota by bifidobacterium. The second transition occurs during the weaning period with the introduction of solid foods and continuation or discontinuation of breast milk feeding, which results in the establishment of an adult-type complex microbiome dominated by the phyla Bacteroidetes and Firmicutes. In a balanced microbiome, symbiotic and commensal species outcompete the pathogens for resources. Early perturbations in the acquisition of infant gut microbiome, such as premature birth, cesarean delivery, and perinatal antibiotic infusions, have been known to be associated with long-term health challenges in infants. According to the Word, several studies have shown that breastfed infants are less vulnerable to necrotizing enterocolitis than those that were formula-fed. The human milk oligosaccharides contained in breast milk serves not as a carbohydrate source for the infant, but rather a source of nutrition for beneficial microbes such as bifidobacterium, which is known in protecting and preventing disease-causing microbes in invading the gut. As the infant grows, it will need an adequate source of nutrition other than breast milk to sustain its growth and development. It has been known that the introduction of solid foods alters the gut microbiota community of infants during weaning period. However, recent studies have concluded that this is the cessation of breastfeeding that shapes the bifidobacterium-rich microbiota into a more diverse adult-like microbiota with dominant species belonging from Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes phyla. This shift dominant species helps the gut in metabolizing complex diets. And despite a large number of intervening factors, nutrients seem to be dominant regulators of gut microbiota development across the first 3 years of life. Considering the relevance of early life in gut colonization and microbiota stabilization, it is quite reasonable to assume that early life dysbiosis could be prevented or corrected by optimizing nutritional patterns. Results from 2019 expanded nutrition survey show that only 7 out of 10 Filipino children aged 6 to 23 months old received timely introduction of complementary feeding at 6 months old. A study conducted by Jakir and others in 2020 utilizing the 2013 National Nutrition Survey results showed that breast milk and rice were the main dietary components in all Filipino children. As one of the major factors affecting early microbiota is the geographical variations in dietary habits. This study aimed to determine how does complementary diet of Filipino infants and young children affect their gut microbial profiles. This cross-sectional study involved 64 healthy full-term Filipino infants aged 6-month-old, 12-month-old, and 24-month-old from Taguig City. Infants with premature births were excluded, had a history or current use of antibiotics, or if they had severe respiratory infection, digestive disorders, or other genetic metabolic disorders such as G6PD. Study participants whose length, height, and weight measurements fall below -2 standard deviation and above +2 standard deviation Z-score were excluded from the study as well. The parents or their caregivers were asked to keep a 5-day consecutive food diary, which is adapted from the 2013 National Nutrition Survey with some modifications. On the 6th day after the dietary recording, a trained researcher revisited the parents or the guardians to validate and assess the completed food diary, as well as collect the fecal samples of infants. Common household measurements such as tablespoons, cups, by size, or by pieces were used to estimate the amount of food taken by the study participant. The measurements were then converted to grams using the food weights and measures compiled by FNRI or through actual food weighing. Intake of breast milk was calculated based on the participant's age in months and total amount of other milks consumed such as infant formula or powdered milk. The assumed amounts used for breast milk intake were from published literatures by Divani and others, as well as Bat and others. For quality control, the log transform ratio of the average daily energy intake to estimated energy requirement was computed for each individual, and outliers were identified as being below -3 standard deviations or above +3 standard deviations. Bacterial DNA from fecal samples were extracted using Kyogen DNase 2 mini-kit using bead beating and heat lysis. Extracted genomic DNA were then sent to Macrogen, Seoul, South Korea for amplification of the V3, V4 hypervariable region of the 16S rRNA gene through Illumina MiSeq, employing 300 base pairs pair-end read sequencing. Data from dietary intakes and bioinformatics results were analyzed and plotted using our statistical programming tool, employing Fail2Seq, Vegan, Psych, ggplot2, and Plotly packages. Spearman's raw correlation were used and significant p-values were adjusted for false discovery rate. Raw sequences obtained from the next generation sequencer were archived at the Bioinformation and DNA Databank of Japan Sequence Read Archive. The results of this study focuses on linking quantitative dietary intake of Filipino infants and young children with their gut microbiota diversity and composition. Average growth status of all study participants was within median range. There is about equal gender of infants recruited for each weaning age, with 75% of the infants undergone spontaneous vaginal delivery. And most of the 6-month-old infants were breastfed or with partial intake of breast milk, whereas infant formula feeding was mostly noted among 12-month-old and 24-month-old infants. Microbiome diversity is typically described in terms of within or the alpha and between samples or the beta diversities. For within sample diversity, we employ the alpha diversity measures, observed Chow-1, and Shannon and Simpson indices. The observed or the Chow-1 estimates the number of species observed in a sample. Practically, we count the number of distinguishable taxa or the operational taxonomic units in each sample. Observing high number of different species in a small sample means high richness index. The Shannon-Simpson accounts for the diversity and evenness of species in a sample, and these indices determine how are the microbes balanced to each other. How similar is the abundance level of species, or do some species dominate others? So having a high evenness index means the sample have similar abundance of the different type of species, while having low evenness index means high abundance of common species and less abundance of rare species. Alpha diversity of Filipino infants during weaning period showed an increasing trend of species richness from 6-month-old to 12-month-old and from 12-month-old to 24-month-old, revealing significant differences in species representation within age groups. This may also mean that the bacterial species in infant gut are becoming rich with infants' increased intake of solid foods during 12 months old and 24 months old. And species diversity, as measured by Shannon Index, which is biased towards species richness and a rare species, was quite similar from 6 months old to 24-month-old infants. Species evenness, as measured by Simpson's Index, which depends on dominant species, showed stable gut bacterial communities of 6, 12, and 24-month-old infants during weaning period. The beta diversity metrics reflect the taxonomic similarity between different samples. In this study, difference between 6, 12, and 24 months old infants and young children were found in both 3D plots based on unweighted and weighted unifrac distances. Unweighted unifrac considers phylogeny and qualitative data or presence or absence of microbial species, while weighted unifrac considers phylogeny and the microbial abundance or the quantitative data. It suggested that the infant's age affected both the relative abundance and variety of microbial species, as evidenced by significant Permanova and ANOSIM tests. For community membership, protein, fat, carbohydrates, and dietary fiber were strongly associated with variation observed for macronutrients, with 45% of the variance explained by fat intake of infants and young children. Most of the food groups were also related to the variation for community membership, with 33% of the variance explained by breast milk and 27.5% of the variance explained by meat intakes. Protein intake was also associated with community structure of the gut microbiome of infants and young children, as well as some food groups such as rice, pasta, noodles, meat, fish, eggs, sugar and candies, sugary and sweetened drinks, as well as fats and oils. Now, notably, there is a shift in prevalence of actinobacteria and proteobacteria in infants at age 6 and 12 months old to firmicutes and bacteroidetes in 24 months old infants. At species level, the 5 most abundant taxa in infants aged 6 months old were Bifidobacterium longum, Bifidobacterium breve, Streptococcus salivarius, Escherichia fergusoni, and Bifidobacterium pseudocatenolatum. Similar trend of dominant bacterial species was observed in the gut of 12-month-old infants, except for the steep decline of Streptococcus salivarius and interestingly, a significant increase of Streptococcus equinus at 16.23%. And the most dominant bacterial species in 24 months old infants was Bifidobacterium pseudocatenolatum, comprising 30% overall abundance, followed by Bautia wexlerae, Prevotella copri, Streptococcus salivarius, and Bacteroides fragilis. Infants aged 6 months old have a mean energy intake of 661 kilocalorie per day, which was 9.4 higher than their mean estimated energy requirement of 604 kilocalorie per day. Remarkably, more than half of the infants for this age group have exceeded the acceptable macronutrient distribution range, or the AMDR, for the total fat percent energy. It may be attributed to the infants' formula milk feeding frequency, and most of them were only starting to introduce complementary foods such as infant cereals, whole fruits, and rice grill in their diet. For 12-month-old infants, the mean energy intake of 863 kilocalorie per day was 21.5% higher than their mean estimated energy requirement of 710 kilocalorie per day. And about 47.8% of 12 months old infant have higher percentage of energy from total fat, and only 4 out of 23 infants had percent of energy carbohydrates below the AMDR. And lastly, the mean energy intake of 24-month-old infants of 1,058 kilocalorie per day was also higher by 17.4% than their mean estimated energy requirement of 901 kilocalorie per day, with only one infant exceeding the AMDR for percent energy of protein and percent energy of total fat, and 2 infants having below AMDR for total fat and carbohydrates. And as of the dietary intake of infants and young children, breast milk was the most commonly consumed food for 6 months old infants, followed by rice, pasta, noodles, infant cereals and breads, and starchy roots and tubers, which were usually pureed. For 12 months old, infant cereals and breads and pureed starchy roots and tubers were replaced with meat, which includes pork, chicken, and beef, and with various confectioneries such as cakes, cookies, and biscuits. Most of the 24 months old young children already consumed rice, pasta, or noodles, but still with supplementation of breast milk. These young children already favored sugary drinks, which were artificially flavored juices, chocolate milk, and some soft drinks. We then performed Spearman correlation between macronutrient intakes and food groups to 0.1% relatively abundant bacterial species and alpha diversity measures, species richness and diversity. We found positive associations of probiotic strains of actinobacteria species such as Bifidobacterium bifidum and Bifidobacterium breve, as well as Firmicutes species Lactobacillus johnsoni to breast milk. Interestingly, Proteobacteria species such as Klebsiella varicula and Escherichia fergusoni and Firmicutes species Enterococcus raffinosus were also positively correlated with breast milk intake, with the exception of Bifidobacterium bifidum and Lactobacillus johnsoni. The remaining 4 species were also positively associated with fat intake. This mixture of microorganisms may have beneficial synergistic effect in the overall function of the gut flora of infants and young children and warrants further elucidation. Firmicutes species Clostridium inoculum and Erysipelatoclostridium ramosum, which were normally found in the human gut flora, were positively correlated with infant formula milk. This may mean that infant formula milk accelerates the transition of the infant gut microbiota toward an adult-like microbiota. And we also noted the positive association of carbohydrates and dietary fiber intake, such as well as most of the food groups of the most abundant gut bacterial species among 24 months old, such as Bifidobacterium pseudocatenolatum, Blochia wexlerae, and Prevotella copri. This may mean that the gut microbiota of 24 months old have already transitioned to an adult-like microbiota. This is also evident in correlation of species richness with most of the food groups, as well as with carbohydrates and dietary fiber intake. However, this species diversity were only marginally affected by intakes of eggs, sugary drinks, and some fats and oils. And I would just like to add that these correlative results should be interpreted with caution, as correlation does not determine causation. In summary, we have observed in this study that the alpha diversity richness increases at 24 months old, but the overall species diversity and evenness remained stable. Age and diet strongly correlated with the microbial community and structure of Filipino infants and young children. And we also observed a shift in dominance of actinobacteria and proteobacteria among 6 and 12 months old to Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes among 24 months old. The mean energy intakes were higher than their estimated energy requirement, which may be explained by the increase of solid food intake of the infants and young children during weaning period. And we also noted that increased dietary intake of infants and young children may have transitioned the gut microbiota profiles of 24 months old to an adult-like microbiota due to increase in abundance of bacterial species belonging to Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes. And we further conclude that the gut microbial profiles of Filipino infants during weaning period showed a diet-driven change in microbial diversity and community composition. And from a microbiome perspective, this study has only examined taxonomic differences and inferred how this may be related to the function of infant and young children gut communities. A multi-omic approach that includes metagenomics, transcriptomics, and metabolomics would be able to better elucidate more direct relationship between diet and the microbiome. Also, a longitudinal study approach is also recommended in the future for us to be able to better explore the differences that may be occurring in the microbiome due to changes in eating habits. Further, we may be able to prescribe the potential interventions to ensure the proper establishment of gut microbiota in infants and young children during weaning period. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening and have a great day.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. Let's give Mr. Angelo a virtual clap. So Mr. Angelo shared with us that gut microbial profiles of Filipino infants during weaning period showed a diet-driven change in microbial diversity and community composition. Although microbial species richness was substantially increased at 24 months, the overall microbial diversity and evenness were sustained during weaning period. Again, thank you very much to our three speakers. And again, we're waiting for your questions to our speakers for the open forum. At this point, we would like to acknowledge our participants, and we already reached 1,000 participants. Thank you for joining us this morning on the second day of the DOST-FNRI seminar series, especially on this technical session. First, on nutrition assessment. So let us proceed with the open forum after hearing our three presenters. From Dr. Cecilia Acuin of the Philippine Association of Nutrition for Ms. Jet. How do teen mothers' behaviors compare with non-teens? Ms. Jet?
Good Unfortunately, the study only focused on teenage mothers. Thus, the comparison between teenage moms and non-teenage moms were not analyzed. However, follow-through studies can be done, which can compare the characteristics and then the health-seeking behavior and child feeding practices of these mothers. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jet. And now for Ms. Maylene. Since most of the people now are online and get information in the internet, must it also consider other media platform in influencing breastfeeding practices? Ms. Maylene?
Yes, hello, good morning. So the social media is not significant po when we check po with the study po. So the only significant is the breastfeeding advertisements heard on the radio. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ms. Maylene. And we also have a question here for Mr. Angelo. Good morning. About the microbiota in the gut. Did we also correlate the gut bacteria with the start of complementary feeding, such as starting semi-solid food at 4 months, 6 months, or 8 months?
Yeah,
Mr.
we did.
Angelo?
Yes, po. Can you hear me now? Yes, we did correlate the complementary feeding, but for only in 6 months old, 12 months old, and 24 months old infants, not in 4 months, 6 and 8. Although in the first stages of in the infant stage, complementary feeding is only possible on the 12-month stage in babies and 24 months. So we cannot correlate this complementary feeding in 6 months old, since this age range is only exclusive for breastfeeding or breast milk or for formula milk. So it is not possible. But in 12 months old and 24 months old, as we can see in the presentation, there is a change in bacterial community already. And we can see that there is another presence of group or type of bacterial community or microbial community arises because of this complementary food that these infant or babies are taking in that age range. So that would be it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. That question came from our participant from Fitness First. Another question for Ms. Jet. It was stated in the study that 1 out of 4 teenage mothers were chronic energy deficient. Do you know how this factor can affect the medical seeking behavior of the teenage mothers? Ms. Jet?
Yes, nag-mute. I think a mother being chronic energy deficient can affect her decisions and behavior in how to take care of her child, and it can also affect in her medical seeking behavior.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jet. That question came from Ms. Garil Reyes. And now another question for Ms. Mylene. This is a comment. The said studies will be good sources of information for comparative data on infant and child feeding practices during the time of pandemic. So, Ms. Mylene, this is the question. What do you think is the factors on rural versus urban breastfeeding timely initiation? Ms. Mylene?
Yes po. In the characteristics, residence was significant, but with regards to the factors associated, so the residency or the urbanity is not significant. So the result was not significant.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mylene. Another question for Mr. Angelo, coming from Sofia Suetado. How was the food groups asked from the respondents? Is this through 24 food recall or 5 days? Mr. Angelo?
Again, pardon.
Okay. How was the food groups asked from the respondents? Is this through 24 food recall or 5 days?
Okay. It is through a 5-day food recall. So we have this food diary that were given to the participants and for their guardian or their caregivers. So that is a 5-day food diary. And then on the 6th day, we will go back to their residence or their home to check and to ask the participants and their guardians with their food intake on the last 5 days of their diet, and that's it. That's the main of the food diary that we have, so we could monitor the day-to-day intake or diet of the infants or the participants.
Thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. Another question for Ms. Mylene, coming from a Fitness First participant. What type of nutrition education was given to these teenage pregnant mothers? Since yesterday, during the session, the speaker said that this was a problem in the LGUs. Ms. Mylene?
Sorry, Doc Marie, can you please repeat the question? So medyo ano po yung ano ko dito sa, I'm in Cotabato City po kasi right now for the ENNS. So medyo napuputol yung line.
Okay. So question again for Ms. Mylene. I will repeat the question coming from our participant from Fitness First. What type of nutrition education was given to these teenage pregnant mothers? Since yesterday, during the session, the speaker said that this was a problem in the LGUs. Miss Maylene?
Hello,
From
Doc
Cotab.
Marie. Sorry.
Yes?
Sorry po. So abo, napuputol yung line. So paulit.
Okay.
Sorry talaga.
Okay. Again, I will repeat the question for Miss
Okay.
Maylene coming from our participant from Fitness First. What type of nutrition education was given to these teenage pregnant mothers? Since yesterday, during the session, the speaker said that this was a problem in the LGUs.
Okay. So I think po the question is for Jet since it pertains to the teenage mothers.
Miss Jet? Thank you very much, Miss Maylene. Miss Jet, can you
Thank
answer
you.
the question?
Sorry, Doc Bukas. Can you please repeat the question? Sorry po.
Okay. What type of nutrition education was given to these teenage pregnant mothers? Since yesterday during the session, the speaker said that this was a problem in the LGUs.
Yes, Dr. Bugas. For the study, the specific topics on the nutrition counseling was not analyzed. However, if you go to the grounds and current nutrition education topics being discussed are on pregnancy and tips on pregnancy, and then breastfeeding and exclusive and complementary feeding, which is included in the pabasa sa nutrition. So, yun po. More on my opinion, yun po yung topics na included sa nutrition education among mothers na sa grounds. Ayun po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Jet. And again, a question for Mr. Angelo. Coming from Josephine Pajo. Is it right to say that breastfed babies have healthier and diverse microbiota than those who are formula fed? Mr. Angelo? Mr. Angelo?
Okay. Hello.
Yes.
I can't say that it is right to say that breastfed babies are healthier than the formula fed babies because just like a fingerprint, the microbial community in each of us is very distinct and very different in each person or each infant. Although it is the presence of good bacteria or the natural occurring bacterial community are more prevalent in breastfeeding babies than in formula-fed babies. But overall, uh, because it's a formula fed is a formula milk, so it is also having this presence of like what do you call this, uh the right nutrition and the right nutrients on the in the milk and on the formula equaling to the breast milk, but the presence of the bacteria of it is different from um naturally or the breastfed babies. But I can't really say that it is healthier, but I can say that there are more good occurring bacteria in naturally or breastfed babies than in formula-fed babies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. And then again, a question for Miss Maylene. Can I also ask why radio is the measurement used and not other social media link or applications? Miss Maylene?
Okay. So the radio was the one that is significant in the study, and we also checked for the social media and other like magazines. However, the result was not significant. So we only selected those that is significant in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mylene from Cotabato City, doing Expanded National Nutrition Survey 2021. And then again, a question for Mr. Angelo. Is it the future for research in the country that the gut microbiota profile could be used to recommend a personalized diet for each client? If yes po, where do we stand now in that pursuit? Thank you. Mr. Angelo?
Okay, so actually po this study is very young pa, and we're still on this pioneering stage of conducting gut microbiota in our country. So the question, kung your question is where do we stand right now? We're still in the early stages, and we have lots of study to do more pa in the future to have a good foundation on gut microbiota projects or studies that would be applied and implemented in our country. So we're still on the early stages. So more studies and more projects relating to gut microbiota is needed, but to establish more ayan.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. Another question from an anonymous attendee here in our session for Ms. Jet. Is there any study focusing on the challenges of teenage pregnancy in the country?
Hello po. There are several topics which are needed to be focused for to be studied for focus on teenage mothers. However, as of the moment, I do not know any study which focus on the challenges of teenage pregnant moms.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jet. Another question for Ms. Mylene. Since most, Ms. Mylene? Okay. Question for Mr. Angelo from Dr. Ces Acuin. Do we have information regarding breastfeed the first 6 months of life of your subjects? Do we also have information regarding anthropometry? Mr. Angelo?
Come again po, ma'am. Come again po.
Do we have information regarding breastfeed the first 6 months of life of your subjects? Do we also have information regarding anthropometry? Mr. Angelo?
Yes po. Yes po. We have information on anthropometric evaluation on each age group, and we also have information on breastfeed. Yes po. Regarding for the diet, since in age groups 6 months old, we can't really monitor the diet aside from on breastfeeding, natural breastfeeding and formula fed, because there's not yet solid food introduced on that age group, only in 12 months old and 24 months old infant. So as we can see in the presentation earlier, I also have presented the information on the anthropometric evaluation on infant participants.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo, for that answer. I have another question for you. Do the results of your study support the recommendation to exclusively breastfeed infants for the first 6 months of life and to continue breastfeeding up to 24 months? Mr. Angelo?
Yes, I can say that it is more recommended to have this practice of a natural breastfeeding than feeding because based on our results, there are more bacteria that are present in breastfeeding that are not present in formula feeding, and is more diverse than formula fed infant participants. Now on this, another question for until 24 months old of breastfeeding po ba yun? Based on our results, at age 24 months old or 2 years old, those participants are not really into ano na breastfeeding na based on my graph kanina, as from the top five complementary food that are introduced to the 24-month-old participants, nasa top 6 lang si formula milk. So hindi siya yung preferred food or complementary food sa ages 24 months old. So I think on that stage, those participants at 24-month-old infants, 24-month-old infant, I think I believe that it is needless to have breastfeed them, but nonetheless we have to encourage the guardians or their caregivers to have a proper nutrition on their daily intake, to have this a more healthier lifestyle sa paglaki. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. Miss Maylene is back now. I have a question for you from Dr. Silvestre. For Miss Maylene, we are still trying to push better implementation of EINC or unang yakap, even for cesarean section born newborns. But do you have data on breastfeeding initiation in normal deliveries, disaggregated by doctors versus midwives? If not available, can you do a cross-tabulation in your secondary analysis? Ms. Maylene? Ms. Maylene? Okay, I will repeat the question for Ms. Maylene, who is now in Cotabato City doing the expanded National Nutrition Survey. The question came from Dr. Silvestre, and it says, we are still trying to push better implementation of EINC or unang yakap, even for cesarean section newborns. But do you have data on breastfeeding initiation in normal deliveries, disaggregated by doctors versus midwives? If not available, can you do a cross-tabulation in your secondary analysis? Ms. Maylene.
Yes, hello, good morning po ulit. Sorry
Yes.
po for the napuputol yung connection. So, in the study po, normal delivery was significantly higher po than those mothers who delivered cesarean. And for the other question, Doc Marie, can you please repeat po? Sorry.
Do you have data on breastfeeding initiation in normal deliveries disaggregated by doctors versus midwives? If not available, can you do a cross-tabulation in your secondary analysis? Ms. Maylene? Okay, let's give time for Miss Maylene. Baka mahina po ang connection coming from Cotabato City up to here in Taguig City. We have another question, our last question for Mr. Angelo. Coming from Edilberto Garcia. Our question is coming from Mr. Edilberto Garcia. How long does it take to change the microbiome in the gut? 1 week? Or is it the macro or micronutrient involved in the diet? Mr. Angelo?
Yes po, yes po. Hello. Okay, so we have not touched that part na how long does the microbial community would parang take action or take into effect on the infant's gut. But I think there is no definite time frame for that. But as according to our result in study for 6 months, 12 months, and 24 months old, there is a drastic change from 6 months old and then from a 24 months old infant. So there is a drastic change on microbial presence and prevalence or their diversity. So within those months, we can say that it is dependable to the diet or the complementary food that are given to the infant participants. And there is really a good possibility that the food that they are taking affects the presence of the bacteria that are inside the gut of this infant. And what's the other question, ma'am? I'm sorry. Is that it?
Is it the macro or micronutrient involved in the diet?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's still a big part, the micronutrient diet, because andun yung presence nila sa mga food na kinakain ni baby, and it is really highly associated with the microbial community that are present in the gut of infants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Angelo. And I think that's the only time we have for the Q&A for our questions and answers. Again, for those questions we were not able to accommodate, you may also approach our speakers online, or for those participants who provided us with your names and affiliations, we will go back to you for the answers to your questions. Okay, to our 3 speakers and to our active participants, thank you very much. Indeed, a very interesting discussion we have for this morning. And with that, let us proceed to the awarding of the certificates to our speakers. Let me read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute, in cooperation with the Food and Nutrition Research Institute, Employees Association Incorporated, present the Certificate of Appreciation to Ms. Giovanni Jet S. Gulay for sharing her invaluable time and knowledge as presenter of the paper titled Maternal Health Seeking Behaviors and Child Feeding Practices of Filipino Teenage Mothers during the 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition, with the theme, Good Nutrition in the First 1,000 Days, Starting Right is the Right Start, given this 6th day of July 2021 at the Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute. Signed, Ms. Charmaine A. Duante, the overall chair of the 47th FNRI Seminar Series, Ms. Leah C. Dahay, the president of the FNRI Employees Association Incorporated, and Dr. Imelda Angela Sagdepa, DOST-FNRI Director 4 and Scientist 2. So the Certificate of Appreciation to Ms. Giovanni Jet S. Gulay. And same certificate of appreciation goes to Ms. Maylene P. Cajucom for the paper titled Factors Associated with Timely Breastfeeding Initiation Among Filipino Mothers, which she presented during the 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. The certificate of appreciation goes to Ms. Maylene P. Cajucom. And same certificate of appreciation goes to Mr. Angelo K. Sastre for the paper he presented titled Gut Microbiota Profiles of 6 to 24 months old infants and young children during the 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. Congratulations and job well done to our speakers. May we request our speakers, Ms. Jet, Ms. Maylene, and Mr. Angelo, together with our director, Dr. Imelda Angeles Agdepa, Dr. Calibo, and our MANCO members who are virtually present here for a virtual photo opportunity. Please turn on your cameras. Okay, thank you very much. So that concludes the technical session 1 on nutrition assessment. We would like to thank everyone for your participation, and we hope that you have learned a lot from this session on nutrition assessment. But before we end, let me read a few reminders. Please answer the post-test at the FSS website. The post-test link will serve as your logout for this technical session. Failure to answer the post-test will mean that you did not log out for this technical session. For the post-test, you will be asked to input an FSS technical session code. The FSS technical session code for this session is capital A, capital R, capital K, 489. Again, that's ARK 489. With the capital letters A, R, and K. Failure to provide the correct FSS technical session code will mean that you did not answer the post-test. Hence, you will not receive the certificate for this session. Only registered participants will be given the certificates for this 47th DOST-FNRI Seminar Series. Certificates will only be available once you answer the post-test and the evaluation link. In accomplishing the evaluation form, be reminded to complete the data on profession, the PRC number, and expiry date of your license as a requirement for your CPD units. We also look forward that you will stay with us until the 9th of July as we continue the 47th FNRI Seminar Series. So nakakadalawang araw pa lang po tayo, meron pang remaining 3 days for this week. Our next session for this afternoon will be at 2 p.m., 2 o'clock on the nutrition tools and product innovation. Another exciting set of presentations ang naghihintay po sa ating lahat mamayang hapon. So kita-kits po again online this afternoon. At this point, we will be showing you again slides on the expanded National Nutrition Survey being conducted as of today. Actually, the first team left last week. The Expanded National Nutrition Survey 2021 or ENNS Year 3 has resumed the data collection. The first deployment started on July 1 at the province of Tarlac. Other Luzon areas, which we are seeing on your screen, will be covered in mid-July until December of this year. There are 6 areas in the Visayas region Pre-survey coordination meetings are also arranged to comply with the health and safety protocols. Online training for researchers who are nutritionists, dietitians, and nurses will resume next week after the seminar series. And may panawagan po tayo. We need researchers, especially for the Visayas region. So kami po ay nananawagan that we need more researchers for the Visayas region to conduct the expanded National Nutrition Survey 2021. And then the team was also deployed in Cotabato City on July 5. Nandun po si Ms. Maylene, sa ngayon ang ating second speaker earlier. Pre-survey coordination meetings are ongoing in other 9 areas to arrange the health and safety protocols needed to enter the province, which will also be covered in August until December of this year. So that's for the Expanded National Nutrition Survey, ENNS 2021. So at this point, the 47th DOST-FNRI Seminar Series would like to acknowledge our sponsors. For our gold sponsors, the Nutridence Food Manufacturing Corporation, a leading food manufacturer of healthy, nutritious, and research-based food products distributed nationwide. We also have Swiss Pharma Research Laboratories Incorporated, a leading manufacturer of pharmaceutical products in the Philippines, and a technology adapter of the enhanced Nutriban. For our silver sponsor, we have the Maan's Bake Shop from Davao City, one of the newest licensees of the DOST-FNRI developed enhanced Nutriban technology. And of course, for our bronze sponsors, we have the Department of Science and Technology, National Capital Region, Regional Office, Mary Loy, Food Products and Merchandising from Tumawini, Isabela. And we also have Waffle Time and Great Foods Concepts Incorporated in Iloilo City, and RCJ Trading and General Merchandise. And for our other major sponsors, we are very grateful for our partners, the Philippine Association of Nutrition Incorporated, the First Analytical Services and Technical Cooperative or FAST Laboratories, our Teche Bread House from Eastern Samar. We have Ruben's Bake Shop from Catbalogan, Samar, JA Fruits and Vegetable Processing from San Mateo, Isabela. We also would like to thank the Science and Savings and Loan Association Incorporated or SLI. We also have the Di Hermanos Pizza from Tangub City, Misamis Occidental, and Pan ni Juan from Tomas Opus, Southern Leyte. Thank you very much po to our sponsors for your continued support. And also, for our final announcement, the Philippine Association of Nutrition Incorporated cordially invites you to PAN 2021 Annual Convention Virtual Platform with the theme, Malnutrisyon, Tulong-Tulong Nating Labanan, First 1,000 Days, Sama-sama nating tutukan, this coming July 22 to 23, 2021. PAN Convention is an annual event hosted by PAN Incorporated to unite its members, student and provincial chapters, professional individuals, and multi-sectoral planners and implementers of the first 1,000 days programs and projects at the local and national levels. PAN has also invited renowned individuals in the field of health and nutrition to discuss on topics regarding the nutrition problems our country encounters today. Register now with this link you can see on your screen, and registration fee is at only 200 pesos. And for other questions and concerns, please feel free to message the PAN on their page or via email at panconvention2021@gmail.com. So see you there at PAN Convention 2021 with hashtag PAN Convention 2021. Again, thank you so much to everybody for your time and for joining us this morning with the technical session 1 on nutrition assessment. This has been your moderator, Marie Bugas. Thank you, everybody, and keep safe.
the parents are working while the stress is tough. Just remember the following. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Inspire others to do the same. Story of life is no game. Life doesn't need to end that fast. If you choose health, the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNRI.
Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Bitamina, mineral, seksik pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Calcium,
Papatibay ng buto para sa healthy na.
niacin sa panunaw na maayos, magnesium, taga-ayos ng katawan mo. Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Bitamina, mineral, seksik pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Sagot sa malnutrition, iwas cancer, diabetes at sakit sa puso. Konting kain lang, mabubusog ka na.
na ba na may bagong gabay para sa lakas at kalusugan mo? Simple lang at madaling tanda. Ang tawag dito'y pinggang Pinoy. Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato. Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo. Isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo. Ito na ang pinggang Pinoy. Sa modelong pinggan, sukat na sukat bawat pangkat ng pagkain. Pagkaing balanse sa nakatatanda, mainam din sa bata.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Pinggang Pinoy.
In 2010, DOST-FNRI revolutionized its take on nutrition by incorporating genomics in its researches, investigating the relationship of anthropometric, biochemical, clinical, dietary, and health components to the genetic makeup of Filipinos. DOST-FNRI is looking into providing a more personalized approach of achieving optimum nutrition to every Filipino. Through nutritional genomics, we attempt to better understand how a single nucleotide, a single letter, can make a big difference in our way of living. And so, to support this endeavor, DOST-FNRI capitalized on establishing its molecular laboratory known as the Nutritional Genomics or the NuGen Lab. With its thrust of bringing science for the people, the NuGen Lab provides assessment of genes and genetic variants associated with micronutrient deficiencies and diet-related non-communicable diseases. The NuGen Lab is equipped with some of the state-of-the-art equipment in molecular biology, such as the automated nucleic acid extraction machine, bioinformatics, real-time and digital PCR systems, automated liquid handling system, micro-volume spectrophotometer system, and gel documentation system. complete workflow adhering to the highest standard of competency in laboratory testing, NewGen Lab is setting the mark in providing mole biotechniques with transparency, validity, and reliability. Whether you are an individual or a group of enthusiasts seeking answers in nutritional genomics, the NewGen Lab awaits you. Our proficient personnel works in close contact with our customers through customized analysis, provision of technical consultancy in nutritional genomics, and standardization or laboratory competency. To even serve you better, we are partnering with a leader in genomic testing for a higher throughput and faster turnaround time. Welcome to the new generation of nutrition. Welcome to the NewGen Lab.
while the parents are working, while the stress is tough. Just remember the following. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a run or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Inspire others to do the same. Story of life is no game. Life doesn't need to end that fast. If you choose health, the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNRI.
Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamin at minerals, excited pa rin. Pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Calcium,
Papatibay ng buto
thiamine,
para sa healthy na.
niacin sa panunaw na maayos. Magnesium, taga-ayos ng katawan mo. Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamin at minerals, excited pa rin. Pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Sagot sa malnutrition, iwas cancer, diabetes at sakit sa puso. Konting kain lang, mabubusog ka na. Halina, tulungan ang bayan. Halina, mag-brown rice na. Mag-brown rice na.
Four years and counting. With over 2.8 million website users, IFNRI is a trusted source of food, nutrition, health in the Philippines. Home to 6 components: ISS, iServe, iLearn, iBusiness, iPromote, and iAdmin. The harmonized information and communication technology hub of the Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute is now expanding to serve you better. IFNRI Reimagined. iTrain is a new addition to the group. Users can now enroll in face-to-face online or offline trainings and watch, learn, and enjoy nutrition videos anytime, anywhere, while earning continuing professional development credits with iTrain. We also upgraded the original components. Nutrition counseling is now online. We also have new nutrition tools to aid users count their calorie intake with the Healthy Eating and Lifestyle program online. Prepare and serve healthy meals by calculating energy and nutrient content, quantified recipe and food costs of your recipe or menu using the Menu Eval Plus. Download the latest National Nutrition Survey data using public files for free. Know if your area is on track of meeting their nutrition targets with eNutrition. Rate the food's characteristics using science-based assessment that is convenient, efficient, time-saving, and many more with enhanced sensory evaluation laboratory. Access 1,500 food items with photos and many more nutrition data using the Philippine food composition tables. Do you want to know how much Filipinos eat? Perform basic to complicated statistical analysis using the food consumption data of the National Nutrition Survey with the Food Consumption Data Dietary Exposure Assessment. Thinking of starting a business? Learn more about DOST-FNRI's products and technologies and become one of our adapters using the Electronic Technology Transfer Monitoring Map. Undernutrition is a persistent problem in the Philippines. Be part of the solution. Be part of the DOST package advocacy for the improvement of nutrition of young children. Need nutrient, biochemical, and microbiological analysis results? Avail our services and track your status using FNRI Service Laboratory Integrated Online System. IFNRI is also home to the first accredited Philippine food proficiency testing provider in the country. Learn more about this new service. Check out the FNRI Proficiency Testing Laboratory website. Locally available but internationally comparable reference materials. The improved FNRI reference material portal allows direct access on clients' purchase, from tracking their reference materials from designated courier to extending feedback to FNRI. Learn more about nutrition while having fun. Access the different modules of nutritionschool.ph. Play nutrition games with iLearn. New data, more features, available 24/7. Start exploring the new website. Visit i.fnri.dost.gov.ph.
Based on 2008, WHO estimates 60% of all deaths in our country, which is 800 daily, is caused by non-communicable diseases. There are 4 major categories of NCDs: cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, chronic respiratory diseases, and some cancers. Filipinos continue to be exposed to the risk factors of NCDs. Physical inactivity and unhealthy diets are major contributors to the rising cases of NCDs. To combat NCDs, FNRI, DOST, DOH, NNC, and WHO agreed to come up with a new food guide for Filipinos. In 2014, the Pinggang Pinoy Healthy Plate for adults was first introduced to the public. It is a food plate showing the recommended proportion of food groups in every meal. It conveys the message that half of the plate is occupied by fruits and vegetables, while the rice and protein groups make up the other half, with more rice than protein. The guiding principles underlying the development of Pinggang Pinoy are based on the following philosophical goals: evidence-based, promoting good health, focus on total diet, realistic, useful, practical, flexible, evolutionary. Pinggang Pinoy is a translation from nutrients to food based on the best available scientific evidence, with due consideration to nutritional advocacy and usual dietary pattern. It shows the 3 basic food groups: Go, or rice and alternatives; Grow, or fish and alternatives; and Glow, that is divided into 2 portions, fruits and vegetables. Drink lots of water every day for adequate hydration. Since individuals' energy and nutrient needs vary based on age, sex, and level of physical activity, FNRI DOST also developed Pinggang Pinoy food plate for the other age or population groups. Children 3 to 5 years old, children 6 to 9 years old, children 10 to 12 years old. Male adolescents, female adolescents, male adults, female adults, male elderly, female elderly, pregnant, lactating, proper diet along with regular physical activity can maintain good health and help prevent obesity. With healthy food choices following Pinggang Pinoy, plus healthy lifestyle through regular physical activity and avoidance of cigarette and alcohol, comes the healthy Filipino nation.
kids are young, while the parents are working, while the stress is tough. Just remember the following. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Inspire others to do the same. Story of life is no game. Life doesn't need to end that fast. If you choose health, the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNRI.
Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamina, mineral, excite pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Calcium,
Papatibay ng buto
thiamine,
para sa healthy na.
niacin sa panunaw na maayos, magnesium, taga-ayos ng katawan mo. Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamina, mineral, excite pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Sagot sa malnutrition, iwas cancer, diabetes at sakit sa puso. Konting kain lang, mabubusog ka na. Halina, tulungan ang bayan. Halina, mag-brown rice na. Mag-brown rice na. Tingnan Pinoy. Tingnan Pinoy.
Alam mo na ba na may bagong gabay para sa lakas at kalusugan mo? Simpleng-simple lang at madaling tanda. Ang tawag dito'y pinggang Pinoy. Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato. Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo. Isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo. Ito na ang pinggang Pinoy. Sa modelong pinggan, sukat na sukat, bawat pangkat ng pagkain. Pagkaing balanse, sa nakatatanda, mainam din sa bata.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Isda